Well, all right, folks. It's been a long time, but we are back on the Hot Hand Podcast. I'm Brooks Jordan, and joining me today is Alex Conrad of TalkSport. Do you want to introduce yourself, Alex?
Yeah. Well, hello everyone. Pleasure to be here on your podcast, Brooks. I guess for those listening, they might wonder like, how on earth is this American guy pulled this Australian from thin air who works in London? But
Right.
we go way back, don't we, Brooks? We go way
Absolutely.
way back to almost. I mean, this year in August, it will be a decade of
I know.
friendship
Time
and knowing
flies.
each other, which is yeah.
Time flies when you're having fun,
Yeah, in
right?
terms of, I guess, me and what I do. So as Brooks, you mentioned, I work for TalkSport. I'm a sports reporter here in London, England. Been here for almost 2 years working in this role. So I'm a sports reporter writing stories for TalkSport.com, going to different events across England, doing darts, sailing, football. It's everything. We literally do talk sport at talk sport, so it's great. And yeah, I mean, a lover of all sports, always played, always talked, tried to write when I was younger as well, and now I get paid to do it, so it's
That's
awesome.
it's beautiful. Living the dream. So you said sailing.
Yeah, so I went to a
I
sailing
I had
event
no
in a
idea.
city called Portsmouth. Yeah, so there's a competition called Sail GP, and they market themselves as Formula One on water. And
Wow.
having been there for an event in person, it's that moniker absolutely rings true. It's insane. I got to go out on a what's called a chase boat, so they have like a media one. Myself and two photographers got whizzed around the harbor by this guy on the boat who was just like chasing after all the boats that are going 90 kilometers an hour. I need to work out the calculations from kilometers to miles per hour, but
I think that's like
either
what
way, it's fun.
120 miles per hour, I think.
Yeah,
Something like
these
that,
guys are
right?
flying on the water and they're like running across the boats to get from different sides and take up different roles. You've got the wind flying, they've got the headphones on, sunglasses. It's insane. Like, highly recommend getting to an event. I think they've got one in New York and San Francisco in terms of America,
Hmm.
but it just keeps growing and growing year on year. The money gets bigger. There's some massive names who are investors as well. Formula One world champion Sebastian Vettel's an investor. Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds, those guys are involved with
Hugh
the
Jackman
Australian
of
team.
X-Men, of course. Wolverine.
Yeah. Kylian Mbappe, World Cup winner for France, Real Madrid superstar. He's
Wow.
invested as well. Deontay Wilder, former world champion, who fought Tyson Fury a couple times. He's involved too. So there's some really big names involved in the sport.
Man, I'll have to look into that because it's really I've bet on some very, very niche sports. I think the other night I've bet there's this company called OddsJam that sends sharp bets out when it's, positive expected value. So it's basically like when across books there's a bit of a mismatch. So you want to take it on a specific book where you can get a better price for the bet. But recently they've been sending some like EuroLeague basketball, and it's fairly niche, and that's what it is. It's like if it's a pretty low handle, there usually is some mispricing going on, but it's like I'm just betting on these random teams in EuroLeague basketball, and it's like I'm not a big follower of it, but it's like if the value is there, it's like I'm always going to take it. But
Exactly, man. You got to get that bank account boosted.
yeah, I mean, yeah, you take any edge you can get in this business. So, let's move into March Madness. Did you end up making a bracket or anything?
I unfortunately did not this year. I feel like because we both went to the University of Colorado,
Right.
I think for me, I'm very tied to if the Buffs are involved, I'll get involved. Otherwise, it's kind of hard because there's so many games and so much action happening all the time.
Hmm.
But in saying that, it's such a fun way to get involved and have an interest because March Madness is for so many novices who watch from afar. It's all about the bracket. It's an
Right.
easy way to get involved. You don't really have to know much
No
to even
doubt.
have a chance. And if you're picking favorites the whole way through, it's never really going to work out.
Right.
because there's always just so much chaos, which is part of the drama and the fun of it.
Yeah. Well, so you've been keeping up with the Premier League then, yeah? As
Absolutely.
a Villa
It's
fan?
hard to yeah, it's hard to escape it when you're in England because it's all everyone really talks about. The papers, it's just like you walk into a news station, it's all there. Even when you walk into the office, there's papers on your desk.
Hmm.
It's yeah, it's inescapable, really.
Well, and you what fairly recently went to a Villa game, right?
I did indeed. I went to Aston Villa, which is my team. We played Wolverhampton Wanderers, which is kind of like a local derby because Wolves are
Hmm.
just outside of Birmingham, and Birmingham is a 2.5 hour train ride outside of London. Um, yeah, it was a pretty chill day out. It wasn't the best game, but Villa
Hmm.
won 1-0, which was great. But I mean, it's kind of hard to get to Premier League games at times because a lot of tickets will be quite expensive,
Yeah, I'd
and some will be
imagine.
taken up by season ticket holders who have seats, and others are just you're paying like over £100, which probably like maybe 120, $30 US.
Hmm.
I might have to get the conversion rates right there, but all in all, it's not a cheap day. It's quite expensive if you're factoring food and alcohol in.
Right. Of course, you
Because
got to have some
get a
beverages.
couple bets in. Yeah,
Yeah. Well,
it's a
so
pretty pricey day out.
in terms of the calculation, I was way off on kilometers to miles per hour. So, see, 90 kilometers per hour is equivalent to about like 55 miles per hour. So,
Yeah,
it
right.
wasn't nearly, I was like 120 miles per hour. I was like, these guys are fucking
So
flying.
you're flying.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I think euro to dollar, I think it's like $1.20 is 1 euro, I think around there.
Yeah.
But so yeah, it's definitely, I mean, I would imagine it's a huge deal and it's just a great atmosphere as well. Do you feel like do you feel like the barrier to entry, because I know in some football clubs it's like pretty hard to get tickets as just like a non-member of the actual club, you know? Do you feel like you kind of
Yeah.
have to deal with that with Villa?
So I pay what's called like I'm just a member of the club, so I pay fee like each year, and that gets me priority access to tickets. Doesn't necessarily guarantee one for myself, but I think because I just go up by myself, yeah, there's always the odd single seat dotted around Villa Park where they
Mhm.
play, so it's never really that hard for me to get one. But in saying that, sometimes some games you have to have a booking history. Like I remember there was one time when I went to, it was actually to the Wolves game last year in, I think it was maybe November, and there was this father and son who tried to get tickets, and because they didn't have a booking history of having gone to games in previous seasons, they couldn't get a ticket just at the game. So in that sense, I guess there is maybe a high barrier to entry, but I guess it depends on which clubs you want to go to. Some clubs might be more geared toward tourists and
Hmm.
are putting just revenue sort of first, get people in the doors, just get the ticket revenue in. Where others might be more geared towards having proper fans in there, fans of the club that have been going for a long time, or have been or do have that booking history. So I think it differs on the city and the team and how good they are.
Hmm.
But yeah, there are some barriers to entry, but not too many that are, I mean, that was one example where there was a serious barrier to entry, but
Right.
it's not, I wouldn't say it's a common thing.
Do you feel like, different countries, it's harder to get into specific, like, have you been to, a football match outside of London that it's been hard to get into?
I don't necessarily think there's been too many outside of London and other countries. In Australia, I mean, football or soccer for you guys is
Hmm.
it's a pretty low barrier to entry. I mean, there's not many sellouts happening there, so you could. I mean, they'd probably be trying to lure you into those games.
Yeah.
In trying to think where else I've been. I've been to one in Spain, and that was the only barrier to entry for that was the entire ticket website was in Spanish. I can't speak
Ah,
Spanish, so I was flying blind,
right.
trying to Google translate everything. Got there in the end. Ended up having some really cool seats. We were a couple of rows back from the pitch itself, so that was worked out really good.
Yeah.
So either I bought like the wrong tickets or went for something way more expensive, missed the cheaper options, but it was fine. Had a great night. But apart from that, like I haven't really explored too many games elsewhere in Europe. It's definitely something I want to do while I live in London, but
Mhm.
for now, I'm just very sort of London centric, I'd say.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting just culturally, just the huge difference from across the pond. Like all the games in the US, like they're when you going back to your point about, they're chanting, it's called soccer. And it's like the difference, I'll just say like the difference culturally is massive. Like I was always as a kid, I was always listening to like, the Premier League chants, like in the Manchester Derby or whatever. And it's like the huge delta between culturally what it looks like from US soccer to football in Europe. Like I think it's pretty lame, honestly. Like, and I'm not trying to hate on the MLS or anything, but I feel like there's not nearly like the long standing like hooligan culture. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think in a way though, that type of at the risk of sounding too evil, like the sort of happy clappy atmosphere and different chants, that's kind of what makes the MLS in a way what it is and the product it is.
Hmm.
Whereas if you try to incorporate what you've got in England over there, I don't think it would quite work. Just because there's like the history of as you said, like the quite sort of hooligan nature of sometimes the crowds here and those types of chants. Whereas in America, it's a different market, it's a different sort of
Yeah,
audience and fan base with different clubs. So I think it definitely seems like MLS is growing as well. And there's
no
some
doubt.
awesome crowds. I mean, you've got Messi there for Pete's sake. So
Right.
the MLS does a lot of awesome things, I think, and with the crowds and the fan groups that each club has,
Hmm.
it's really unique. I mean, you got the Portland Timbers. There's the guy who has a chainsaw like cutting a tree after each
Right.
goal, I think. So,
Yeah.
and you just never have that in England. But you look at that and you think, yeah, that's like what American sort of crowds are, and I
Hmm.
think that's in a way that's what makes the MLS kind of unique and I guess US soccer culture so unique too.
Right. Well, and recently, actually, Denver has made a National Women's Soccer League team, the Summit, and
Yeah,
it was the actually the biggest sellout crowd a National Women's Soccer League team has had. I think up to upwards of 63,000 people at Mile High. So it's definitely exciting. I think it's really it really is a different kind of beast, I guess. But I've always wanted to get out to London for, or not necessarily London, but just England and just see, a Premier League game. But that's to come. I I have to make mention of the fact that we were back in what was it, September or was that October? That we went to the Broncos game, Broncos
I
Jets
think that would have been, yeah.
in
I mean, that
London.
was the game itself forgettable. One of the
Oh,
probably
terrible
it was
game.
awful.
Yeah.
It's quite funny that I've talked to a few Americans who live over here, and when I
Mhm.
tell them like I went to that game, everyone would just like there's just a look of PTSD almost. It's like, oh, you went to that game, you were there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for you. Like that's
It's
terrible.
brutal.
It was yeah.
Well, and it's
It
funny
was it
because
wasn't great. Yeah.
dude, I'm sure that that's so many people's, first experience of American football. And it's just like, whatever, four field goals.
Yeah,
Is
it
that
was
what, like, that was just brutal to watch.
yeah, I mean, I don't know what the line would have been for that game, but whoever took the under, why you're a wise man. You're a
Right.
wise person.
That easily hit. I think it was just one. Was there even a touchdown
I
scored?
think there was a touchdown,
There
and
was
that was
one
kind of
touchdown,
early.
right?
I thought like, yeah, there was Broncos definitely got the touchdown. I thought, okay, maybe that's going to set the tone
Mhm.
because the Jets obviously weren't really flying and never really did fly for the entire
Right.
season. But you thought, okay, Bo Nix is getting into his he's getting into his groove. The Broncos are hitting their straps. This could be a bit of a blowout here, and then that was the complete opposite of what transpired for the rest of the game.
Well, I just can't even imagine you know, being a true Londonite and just seeing that for the first time. That's your first introduction into American football. It's like that's got to be. terrible for you.
Yeah, I
you're
mean
ready to
they're
get into
coming
the
back.
game, and you're like, oh yeah, so
Yeah,
many like it was for even from a neutral standpoint, it was terrible. Like just objectively a terrible game.
yeah.
Do you have you been following the Masters this weekend?
I have indeed. I mean, now I guess at the time of recording, and if
Yes.
once this goes out, people listening are probably going to find out who wins. But I've been
Well,
very,
so
very
it's
intrigued by this.
yeah, live right now. Cam Young and Rory are basically tied. I think Rory has a one-stroke lead on Cam Young. So pretty coming down to it for sure. It is Masters Sunday
Yeah,
at time of recording. So are you a
who was
golf guy?
who was your tip, Brooks?
I thought Ludwig Aberg is always a cool guy to watch. And I don't think he's doing too hot anymore, but I saw him actually when he came to the BMW Championship in Colorado, and I just think he's a cool player to watch. I kind of like his style. He's got a sweet swing, but it's crazy to watch these guys. How technically sound they are. Like it's funny I had played on Saturday and I was just like, geez, these guys are just it's almost robotic how good these players are. Are you a player at all? You ever getting out on the course?
I like to think I can write and talk about golf a lot better than I play
Mhm.
because it's one of those sports where you just watch these guys on TV and you think, not like I can do that, but how hard can it truly be to just hit a ball? If you can have a bit of hand-eye coordination, you can hit a ball.
Mhm.
But there's so many little intricacies. My driving game is horrible because I slice my
Mhm.
left hand like every time, like without fail. I don't know what it is. I've tried so many different ways to get around it.
Right.
Tried my stance, tried aiming like onto three holes to the right to try and
Mhm.
like fix a swing. I hope
Yeah.
it comes back around. Doesn't work.
Right.
But yeah, I love playing when I can. I'm absolutely rubbish at it, and it's such a fun reminder when you watch the Masters that these guys are master manipulators of the ball. They can make the ball do crazy things you wouldn't think possible, but it's
Absolutely.
just so engrossing, and it's such a seems like such a doesn't seem like an overly physically taxing sport. Like you look at John Daly ripping
Right.
sigs on the course, and he's
Right.
exactly look like a of health, but he
Uh,
can do it.
well, and I've seen
But these,
interviews of him talking about after he's been drinking the whole night and still drunk on the golf course and he's still just tearing the course up. Like it truly is a sport that you don't necessarily need to be in tip-top condition for. But I always think that, you give Tiger Woods a basketball, I feel like he'll be able to dunk that. A lot of these guys are, in tip-top shape, but unfortunately, I mean, I'm sure you saw what happened with Tiger.
yeah,
It's like
it's
at what point do you learn your lesson and just get a driver?
you'd think so. I mean, lightning can strike twice, thrice. There's only so many times it can happen. For some stage, the pen. I do wonder if the penny will ever drop for him, and if he ever will get a driver.
Hmm.
But look, he's got his own issues, and whether he comes back to golf or not, it's kind of just a bit of a stain on his legacy and kind of a sad way to that will as he gets older and if these things sort of keep happening, people will, especially the younger generation who, if they're growing up and not really knowing how good Tiger was when he actually was playing,
Hmm.
these are sort of the memories they're having of him. It's never really going to translate well forward. But who knows what's going to happen with Tiger if he returns, if he doesn't. Yeah, it's a curious case with him.
It really is, and hopefully it'd be interesting to see how his son Charlie does, because I think he's pretty solid. I think he's enrolling in FSU next fall, so maybe the torch will be passed to Charlie, and but I definitely agree. It's a stain on his legacy, and what's amazing about Tiger is like he's probably one of the most dominant athletes of all time, like the GOAT of his sport for sure. And I just feel like it's tough to see this happen again. You know, it's tough to see it when it happened in the 2000s, and then, it's happened far too many times for him to not learn his lesson. Like at least there was no injuries. He might be able to come back and win the Masters in a couple of years, but like he did and came back in 2019. But man, it's as a fan of his, it's kind of tough. It's also, but it's I also do think a bit of it is like overblown with, people hating on him. It's he blew triple zeros. He just happened to whatever pop a couple Percocets and go for the joyride. I've seen all these videos. It's like these AI videos of him showing up to the Masters, and it's just a Suburban like flipping over the fairway on 13. Um,
Yeah, the internet has its way with a lot of things. It's AI is a funny thing sometimes.
it really is. I've even seen random clips where it's like it's a quick clip of something that doesn't actually happen in the clip. So it's like, say, a tennis clip, and like someone like pulls down their pants, and then it actually cuts to the actual clip. Like it's like an engagement hook, basically, to like what the hell is going on, and then it plays the actual, Federer Nadal clip or whatever. But it's an interesting. It's really, every industry is going to be impacted by it, but just it's funny how these clips are manipulated to, pull in your attention. You're like, okay, well, obviously Tiger isn't actually flipping his Suburban onto Augusta. Well, I wanted to ask you, so I have a few questions that I have prepared. Not that we haven't gone over some of them, but I kind of am curious what your day-to-day looks like at TalkSport.
So I mean, the old saying in sports goes that no 2 days are ever really the same, and that couldn't be more true because
Mhm.
one day you'll have Tiger Woods has flipped his car the other day, and then like a massive transfer news happens. So in that sense, like it's always fun because there's always something to do that keeps you on your toes.
Mhm.
As for me, so I will write stories for our website for talksport.com, and so that's normally like that would consist of my day to day. So, but other in that, I might be going upstairs to our news studio, which is where we have our main sort of bread and butter and the big breadwinner for the company, so to speak, with Talksport, which is our radio studio. So we have um, tons of different shows throughout the day where we have some former Premier League footballers and some legends who will host our shows. And we've got some legendary commentators who also get involved, and we have guests who come in every single day. We've had Steven Gerrard come in the other week. He came onto one of the shows. We've got Michael Owen, Ballon d'Or winner, like one of the best players in the world, previously for Liverpool and for
Mhm.
England. We have loads of other people. We had Robbie Williams as well, the pop sensation. He came in and did like a live set. So there's always some really cool people that are coming into the building. And so that's like, as a sports fan, firstly, before even a sports journalist, like that is so cool to be in there.
No
And then
doubt.
other days I might be doing like a editing shift. So that means I'm basically in charge of the website for 8 hours. So I choose like what stories get put out there. So that might be, what's going on in the news cycle, which guests are coming on, like what are they saying about certain topics? Could that be something that's going to look really nice on the website for like an opinion piece from them? And then that also involves sending out app notifications. So when you get like a little ding on your phone saying,
Mhm.
you know, uh, for example, like England star rule, like fears World Cup may be over because of Premier like injury in Premier League game or something.
Mhm.
So like I'm getting one of our writing team to do a story on that. That I will edit that, get it published live on the website, and then I'll get that story as an app notification. So I'm like typing out what's going in that app
Really?
notification when it goes. the different audiences I can send it to. So
So you're doing
there's a
like
lot of
A/B
pressure, but
tests on that kind of stuff where it's like some with
it's pretty
emojis,
much
some
like,
with not, or
yeah, it's like I'll put like a little angry or flame or the eyes emoji. The
yeah,
eyes is
yeah,
honestly the eyes. It's an absolute charm every time. But like you see that, and then you have the real time data of, so once the story goes live, you see like the story numbers kind of go up a little bit, and then you put the app notification out, and it goes like a rocket up to the
really.
moon. It's
Uh-huh.
insane. Like it just goes. You get like up to, I think, trying to think of the highest I've ever seen go up from an instant app notification. It would probably be like 10,000 people straight away,
Wow,
which is, so you can see like real, like how many people have just like gone straight away from your app notification into the story. So that's like kind of cool. And it's also a lot of pressure to get that right, because you could do like the wrong words, wrong
sure,
keywords, uh, for like a different story. So like a homepage shift is a little bit more pressure in terms of, you're responsible for like the numbers on the website and getting to a good number of page views.
of course.
But yeah, so that's kind of like a little bit of a day to day, but it's
Yeah.
hard to like pinpoint exactly like what it looks like, because I might be going upstairs for an interview with one of the guests as well. So I have them on the radio, and then I might get tapped on the shoulder, be like, "Hey, Alex, can you go interview whoever it may be?" So
Mhm.
that's always like such a bit of a rush, because I'm like, "Oh my goodness, like this is someone I've watched growing up, and now I get to
Absolutely.
talk to them. Oh my goodness, it's the coolest thing ever." So yeah,
Well, and how do
that's like a
you,
little bit of
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm curious when you are pulled into that interview, like just kind of at the drop of the hat, how do you feel like you're able to, come up with questions to ask these folks, ask these stars?
yeah. It's kind of, it can be kind of a, like an adrenaline rush, because you're
Hmm.
thinking like, okay, I have 5 minutes before I go upstairs.
Wow.
Might be going on camera, but yeah. Sometimes the interviews will be recorded for our YouTube channels,
Hmm.
so I have to like get sort of locked in and think, okay, so who am I interviewing? Like, what's their playing background? Did they play for a club that's a big topic in the news? So right now, Arsenal are a massive story because they
Right.
lost yesterday to Bournemouth, and then now that Man City beat Chelsea today 3-0, that means like the Premier League title race is properly on. Like the gap is only 6 points.
Right.
Arsenal and Man City play each other next Sunday, so then the gap could decrease to 3 points. So if we had like some guy who has an Arsenal background,
Hmm.
I'd be thinking, okay, like what do you think? Why is Arsenal collapsing at the moment? Can they hold on? So I think it's a lot of the things will be very topical, and trying to quickly think of links between the interviewer and hot topics.
Sure.
That would be like the quickest point. And then if there's an interesting thing that happened in that players or athletes past when they were competing, for like an exclusive sort of insight, and what was that like when you scored this goal, or when you had this bust up or fiery exchange with this player. You get like some guys are really happy to talk about that, and it's you walk them down memory lane. They have the
Hmm.
best time sort of reliving those moments. So it just kind of depends in terms of who it is and what the hot topics are. But there's not necessarily a formula, but there is sort of like a few things that I'll always think of straight away when I get told, like, hey, you're chatting to this person,
Hmm.
you have 5-10 minutes, get ready.
Wow. Yeah, well, I think it's as long as you're well informed with kind of what is going on locally, that's great. But I'm just thinking of someone you've never heard of. What do you feel like? Is it usually you just kind of turning it over to them to talk about what they're doing, or how do you feel like you would respond to someone, say from EuroLeague basketball that you've never heard of before? What's going through your mind when you have them on for an interview?
I think in those cases, those are sort of rare in terms of like someone who you've just sort of never heard of.
That's good.
And but in that sense, it gives you more of an opportunity to investigate as you ask questions, because I think in those times you're more open to asking like basic questions and getting to like get to know the subject a little bit more, rather than like you've already got a bunch like a preconceived idea of what they might be about.
Hmm.
So these ones you can just ask like basic, so not necessarily basic questions, but ones that offer like a lot of segues to like different follow-up questions and more opportunities to kind of dig deeper on those things. And even if it's like a big overarching theme, what's like, how do you feel about playing instead of crowds? Like, what's the best crowd you've ever played in front of?
Hmm.
Who's your favorite coach you worked for? Like, what's your best teammate as well? Like, those might seem like really basic questions, but you can get some real pearls of wisdom
Hmm.
or intriguing answers. Like, they might say, "Oh, I played with this like NCAA college superstar that's gone on to the NBA. Like, I played with him at rec level as a kid, as a
Right.
7-year-old or whatever."
Uh-huh.
And there you go. It's like I played with this guy when I was 7 years old. Now I play in the European Basketball League. Like there's always
Right.
like a little pass you take.
Sure.
Yeah. So like those are the ways I'd try and get around if it's someone I just have no idea about. You just sort of kind of go surface level at the start, and then you sort of pick your way around what they answer and take little nuggets of like, okay, they said this, let's expand on that.
Right. Well, you're a well socially adjusted guy, so it makes most sense that it's just one thing to the other, you know. It's just connecting with people, really. So, and you're a good man for that. I can assure you.
Thank you,
Going
mate.
off of that, I'm curious, what is the most interesting personality that you've dealt with when you're interviewing someone?
That's a really good question, because there are so many different people I've interviewed over the years from all different sports, from sailing to footballers to darts players
Hmm.
to goodness, like a this guy who broke I think it was the world record for the fastest man in a wind powered vehicle on land. Spoke to him.
Wow.
He was a cool guy.
Yeah.
But I think my favorite ones are always boxers and UFC fighters, just because they're not overly media trained, so they're happy to talk about anything,
Right.
and I always love their honesty and how much belief they have in themselves. Like when I interview them and like wrap up an interview with a boxer or a MMA fighter, I always feel so weirdly inspired,
Hmm.
and I'm like, damn, I want to go on the gym and like wrap my hands up and start hitting the punching bag.
Right.
It's kind of funny in that sense. But I'd say of those, the most interesting would be this Australian boxer called Nikita Zoo. So his brother Tim Zoo is a former world champion. His dad Costa Zoo is one of Australia's greatest ever boxers. But
Mhm.
Nikita, he was an absolute weapon when he was boxing as a youngster. Stopped boxing for a bit to go to university, got an architecture degree. Now as a professional again, and he's world ranked in the top 10 with one of the sanctioning bodies. I think it's the IBF or WBO.
Hmm.
I'd need to fact check myself on that one, but he's top 10 in the world for his division. But it's the way he delivers his answers, and he's just a very strange guy in terms of his diet. There's one interview where I did, he just talks about where he loves seeing opponents bleed. Like that would make him like that turns him on in a really weird way.
Right. Yeah.
And he would go to the butcher and ask for like, oh, can I get liver and kidneys and stuff? And he'd eat those
Is that
raw.
to eat or is that just
Yeah, to
for
eat.
oh, okay. I was gonna say it was
Yeah,
like
and he'd eat
if
it.
he's going to the butcher to go see them bleed, it's like that's kind of wild too to just
Yeah,
get,
yeah,
get organs from the butcher.
yeah. I mean, his nickname is the butcher as well, so it's kind of fitting with his
Oh,
weird
well
sort of
there we
food
go.
personality. But he would like eat. He would go to the butcher and eat like he would buy raw liver and eat liver raw. And it's
Wow.
like eating all these raw meats,
And this
and
was
he'd like post
pre-Liver
videos of
King.
himself.
Was this
I think it
pre
was
or post or
after
around?
Liver King, but I don't think he was inspired by the Liver King. I think
Right.
it's just the guy's got a few screws loose, but he's honestly just such a fascinating guy to talk to. Like I remember before his second professional fight, I was at the hotel. We were all sort of staying at the same hotel, and I knew I was going to get time for him for like a one-on-one, just like exclusive for 10 to 15 minutes. We ended up chatting for probably over an hour. I think 80 minutes in total, and the conversation just flowed. It was like just over like as if we just had beers in hands.
Hmm.
And I remember him afterwards. He was like, oh yeah, that felt like a therapy session, and it was honestly one of my favorite interviews I've ever done. I was getting some really cool details out of him in terms of what he did in his past and his like he worked at the nudie factory, which is like a smoothie factory
Hmm.
in Australia. He would drink some. They would take like the ones that weren't gonna go to the shops that were clearly faulty for whatever reason. He'd just take like a bunch of them, put in his backpack, take it home. So he's a really crazy guy, but he was probably the most interesting sports personality I've ever interviewed.
Well, and where does this is this interview still live? Does it exist online?
It's the article is it's still out there. It's I can't remember the headline exactly, but it would have been in 2022, and when I was working for Fox Sports Australia.
Hmm.
So I suppose if you type in Alex Conrad Nikita Zoo May 2022 into Google, I think the article would be around that time. Maybe it's April, but
Okay.
yeah,
I'll
somewhere
definitely
around
look
then.
into that.
It
I'd
would
love
be
to see that.
it's from around that time, I'd say.
Beautiful. Wow, I definitely need to look into the butcher. That's awesome. I now it's like there's a reason for me to be this guy's fan. Like that's what a cool
Yeah,
story. And he's still actively he's top 10. So if
yeah. I
it's a
mean, he's got a fight.
bandwagon to hop
Yeah,
on, I'm not that I'm a bandwagon guy, but it's like I'm not necessarily, I don't watch too much boxing, so it's like that gives me an excuse to be able to follow the sport for sure.
yeah, and he's got a fight coming up very soon. I think in the next month or two. So there's
All
no better
right.
time to get involved in watching Nikita fight.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll definitely get more info on that. And I don't know, maybe it'll work with, obviously we're separated by a 7 hour gap here from mountain to central London time. And uh is that what it goes? What is it? CS or it's standard?
I think Greenwich Meridian time, GMT.
That's it. That's it.
I think
Right.
should be it. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because that's the standard for the world. I have a friend who's a pilot, and I think it's based on I don't know what the difference between that and Zulu time is, but that's a pilot term. He's always saying, "Oh yeah, we'll do 5 o'clock Mountain, but 1300 Zulu or whatever." So
Didn't even know that existed, but there you go.
yeah. Well, okay, we can move on to the lock of the week segment. This is I do on Twitter I do put out a lock of the day, and so far that has been I think I'm about 500 on that. I think I am around I think it's 11 and 9, maybe 11 and 10. So it's doing okay. Really, I think as time goes on, it'll it'll even out, but gotta keep making sharp plays. So
Exactly.
I actually built a with how easy things are able to be built with like AI and everything. I had an application on the back end that pulls an API for all these odds data across different books to compare. Because, like had talked about a little bit earlier, it's like you want to be able to take the best price odds. So I built a thing that basically compares odds across books. There's a bigger company that does it called Odds Jam, which is actually I get those emails from them that tells me to bet on, EuroLeague basketball. But um, the lock of the week, which is actually a game that is being played today on Sunday, the 12th. I am taking Memphis. Houston is resting Kevin Durant and Sengun. So I don't know. It seemed this is the last day of the regular season, so I could see him. I could see him taking it. I got it on Bet Rivers at plus 688. So it'd be interesting to see. It's definitely there's some value in it. There's a mispricing. So that's what I'm taking. You have are you betting on anything this weekend, Alex?
This weekend was a kind of a tough one in some of the Premier League games because there's just so much volatility, and now that there's a lot at stake because this is sort of the final run in from the end of the international break. It's all guns blazing to the end of the season.
Right.
So I didn't have any for this weekend, but next weekend, well, actually, we got some Champions League action in the middle of the week.
Mm.
So there are some really interesting games. It's hard to pick one, but if there was, oh, I think it would be Arsenal against Sporting. So Arsenal, this is the second leg of their quarterfinal in the Champions League. Arsenal won the first leg away, so they played in Portugal. They won that 1-0
Hmm.
with Kai Havertz scoring in stoppage time, in second half stoppage time. So they've got a 1-0 lead. Arsenal are looking a little bit shaky in the Premier League, and they are playing this game at home in the
Hmm.
Champions League for the second leg of the quarterfinal. So I'm expecting that Mikel Arteta, the Arsenal coach,
Hmm.
is going to need a big reaction from his team
Right.
to
Big
rally the
comeback game.
troops, rally the crowd, get him on side, and I think bring that sort of reminder to the fans and of Arsenal and the rest of the Premier League as well that these guys can still win. They're not going to roll over just for everyone. So I'd say Arsenal winning. The margin I don't know just yet,
No, it's
but
okay. I
I'd say
usually
Arsenal
do
winning.
draw no bets anyway, so it's like, it's 'cause that's what's tough about betting on soccer, man, is that there are ties a lot, you know? So it's like
Yeah,
if you're taking and that is why sometimes the money lines are pretty attractive, but it's like you know, happens that, it's just a nil-nil draw. Just great defense.
yeah. But
Well,
yeah, I
and
think Arsenal.
is
Sorry,
Arsenal are they playing Man City at home? Is that next week?
they are playing. They are playing Man City away. So that's at the Etihad Stadium in Manchester. So that's
Mhm.
going to be
It's
a
going to be a tough
very
one.
interesting atmosphere. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, I love the lock, and I'm definitely going to take it.
Don't, I mean, gamble responsibly.
Yeah,
I must
right,
say that.
right.
So don't
Well,
take the
that's what
word
I
for
always say. Yeah, yeah. You only gamble what you're what you're willing to lose, but you don't want to end up someone in your comment section like, I bet my whole mortgage on this. I'm coming for
it.
you,
Yeah.
Alex. That'd be brutal. But all right. Well, yeah, I think we're good here. I think we're just ready to conclude. It's been a great app. Thanks for joining us.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. It's been awesome to chat to you and get a little bit of insight and maybe I've got to eye out that Memphis v Houston result or game
Yeah.
very soon.
Well, and absolutely plug all your socials and everything.
Well, I mean, I don't have too much to report on Instagram, but on Twitter at Alex H Conrad. So I've got some hot, not maybe some hot takes, maybe some lukewarm,
Lukewarm.
maybe some free
Yeah.
every now. You gotta own the take sometimes, but yeah, I'm all trying to post as much. I need to post probably a little bit more, but
We all do.
breaking down Premier League action, tooting the horn of the Buffs ahead of the
Go
season. We just had
Buffs,
a spring
baby.
game, so go Buffs indeed.
We
So
look kind of
we
small,
got some
I've
serious.
seen. Our team looks a little
Yeah,
small coming out of the tunnel.
we've always got Coach Prime. He's gonna deliver. I hope.
Gotta trust. Gotta trust. All right. Well, thanks again for joining and meet us next time on the Hot Hand Podcast. Thanks for tuning in.